My favorite feature is the flashlight. I find myself reaching for it at least 5 times a day. Initially, I would not have anticipated using it that often, but they make it so accessible. Just 2 shakes of the hand, and it's off. 2 flicks of the wrist, and it's back on. For that reason, I find myself employing it for a wide variety of tasks. Big, small, exciting, mundane, daytime, nighttime. See, these are mostly tasks that I would not have been bothered to go find a flashlight to use, but because this time, the tool is rather easy to use, it's not too utilitarian, and that means you're otherwise already carrying it for other tasks. Why not use it? In 2021, in the Western world at least, you're more likely to find somebody carrying a cell phone than you are to find somebody carrying a real flashlight. And as a bonus, this phone right here, it works even when the battery is low. Right now it's at 4%, but I've seen the flashlight work as low as 1%. So it's pretty easy to see why this is the most utilized feature around here.
Hello, this is the Motorola Moto G Stylus 5G. The last time I had this phone in front of the camera, it was along with the Motorola 5G Ace, and I was discussing the strengths and weaknesses of each of these phones relative to the other. At the time, I shared my criteria for selecting a phone and gave reasons why I thought the Stylus 5G was a better phone for me. At this point, having owned this phone for about 5 months, I figured it would be a good time to give my ownership review of what it's been like and, basically tell you whether I regret my purchase or not. I'll spoil it for you. In retrospect, I don't think that was the best move. It seemed good at the time, but going back, I guess I would pick the 5G Ace, or better, a totally different phone. But without further ado, let's do the 5-month review. So the first thing when it comes to basic functionality of a phone is that it's a communication device. So let's talk about first thing you do with a cell phone, right? Phone calls. The call quality has been great, tremendous. No complaints at all. I don't think I've gotten any compliments as to how good it really is, but on the other hand, I've not gotten any complaints as to how bad it is. I do not get any dropped calls. I do not get any static on my end. No one complains about, me sounding like I'm in an echo. And I say that despite, yes, I do have like 4G over here, as you can see, but I never really have more than 3 bars. 3 or 4 bars is about all I usually have. So that is an interesting thing as to how good the quality usually is, right? No complaints at all. The second thing is that a cell phone, a modern cell phone, is usually used for internet things. So how's my data? In summary, not very good. And I'll go ahead and get into a speed test because I'd like you to see what the speed numbers are. Maybe the numbers would not really matter much, but I still want to share them regardless. So right now I've turned off my Wi-Fi and I'm going to go ahead and run a speed test. The reason I'm running this is just so we can have a number. These numbers are pretty good, I think, especially if they're on a computer, for example. But in this area, yes, we do have Verizon. Verizon is one of the better ones, but I feel like most times I'm on cell data. I'm struggling because I cannot really, my web pages don't open fast enough. Sometimes, they always open, never really hangs, but it's never all that. So right now it says I've got 46 and 11, and this is at 4 a.m., so I'm not really fighting for data with anybody else, right? Let's go ahead and run Wi-Fi. I feel like I did mention this in my previous video that I did not feel like these phones were really good with Wi-Fi, but I think I said that I felt that the 5G Ace was a little better still. Ooh, look at that. My Wi-Fi is great over here. I have Spectrum, which was previously Charter, at least in the area. These are good numbers, right? The upload speeds, nothing much to write home about, I guess. But there you go. So 10.9, it's okay. It's not all that great, but I did want to mention that I have found that whenever I'm uploading videos onto my YouTube channel, whenever I was away from the house, they would take such a long time to work. So that's what we have. Another thing is that we mentioned this. I didn't know what exactly the numbers meant at the time. Is that 50% more, twice as fast? Is it just a little faster? But the 5G Ace had a faster processor, and I did this crude experiment where I turned the phones off and turned them back on again, and in that time I was, and they'll do it again, and in that time I said that I felt like the 5G Ace was evidently faster. And at the time, maybe I couldn't really get the scale as to how much faster it is. By the way, I just restarted it. That's what's going on. So it's taking its time. I did not get the scale as to how fast it really was, but looking at this phone individually, just by itself, it's a very, very slow phone. I think by 2021 standards, things should be happening a lot faster. Right now, look, we're still trying to, it took a while to turn off and it's taking a long time to turn back on. So we'll just let it turn on and I'll show what it is. So speed processor, as I said, and I'm saying this, I can say that although I don't have the 5G Ace anymore, I still have my old LG G6, and I keep it around because, you know, I mentioned in the other video, there's some things it does better than the new phone. So that's why I still kind of have it around. I put my password on and we're back on. So right now we're running. That is a little faster than typical. I feel like most times it takes such a long time to do all that, but oh well. The next thing I'd like to talk about is ergonomics and handling. How well does the phone handle? So for this, I'm going to go ahead and remove it from its case so we can kind of have a bare bones view of it. If I don't break it, that is. Okay, good. All right, so here we go. So one thing I'll mention is that yes, this case is pretty sturdy and has considerable weight to it, but it's not all that. These phones are heavy. And it's not like it's bad enough that it's going to make your pants fall off or anything like that if you have them in your pocket. Neither are they going to give you carpal tunnel by handling the phones. But if you held this phone and you went and handled any other modern cell phone, you can feel the difference in the heft. And I don't know if it's the glass, I don't know if it's a large capacity battery, but you definitely can feel that weight difference. And when I was finalizing material for this video, I had written down that despite the weight, I had never dropped the phone. Obviously, I jinxed myself because just a day ago, I was handling something and I fumbled and this phone fell. And obviously, just like, you know, buttered toast, it fell down face first. You know, it fell face down. Thankfully, I did not get any cracks or anything despite it falling on asphalt. So yeah, I guess thanks to this, I don't know, maybe thanks to the case, it's got a pretty good lip on it. So that's something I wanted to mention. So that's, you know, weight's all off to the side. Second thing with regards to handling and ergonomics is going to be the button placement. Can you see where these buttons are? I did mention it in my initial video that I felt like they were interesting. So this is volume up, volume down, and one long button. And then this one right here is the power button. Can you hear it? It's knurled. Maybe it's a little easier to look at it through the case because the case does have, it's a little more conspicuous. But the button placement makes it interesting because for one, it's great for screenshots, and I've told you guys there are many different ways to take screenshots, so I can hold both the down button and the power button and then just take a screenshot. There you go, look at that, screenshot done, right? So that is good, but sometimes, and I think I do this with like maybe 75% accuracy, sometimes I'm trying to take a screenshot and I end up just doing this, volume down, okay? But that's not a big deal. What kind of gets me sometimes is that you're watching a video, for example, on, I don't know, let's go to YouTube. YouTube would be a good example. I'm trying to get a video that I watch. Okay, so you're watching a video and I want to go ahead and turn the volume down, like here. It's kind of loud. I want to turn the volume down, then boom, end up just closing it, you know. So sometimes that does happen. Not the worst thing in the world, but still worth mentioning. That's it for button placement. Oh, no, I do have something else. So I've tried this with both the case on and the case off, but as hard as it is sometimes to get the power button, being that it's kind of sunken, it's interestingly flush, but still workable. Anything, if you put it in your pocket with anything else, any other object, that object is going to find the power button. Whenever I put the phone in my pocket with like a key fob, I usually find it turned off. So I usually have to, you know, put my passcode on and turn it back on. It doesn't happen all the time, but I usually know if my phone's been silent for such a long time, I better check to make sure if it's turned off, if it's in my pocket sharing space with anything else. So Another thing with ergonomics and handling, and I don't think that's a typical thing that your phone reviewer is going to talk about, but that is about a day in the life with a Motorola stylus, right? Or how does it look like? And then fingerprint sensor, it's exactly where you need it to be. I think I can never really miss it, but despite that, sometimes I have misses like that one. It says fingerprint not, well, now it worked, obviously. But sometimes what happens is, yes, if my hands are wet, my fingers are wet, I can understand that. But sometimes I touch and move my finger all different ways and it still doesn't work. I try any of my other fingers and it still doesn't work. I've programmed 3 fingers for whatever reasons. And so sometimes I just end up using the passcode, which is fine. It's just that the fingerprint sensor, it's perfectly where you need it to be, but it doesn't work consistently all the time. Okay, good enough. So talking about sensitivity, I think that kind of moves us on to the next stage, which is going to be the screen. And I'll show you guys what it's like dealing with the touch screen. So here I've got my basically messaging my old phone right here. If you can, my other phone, sorry, my other number, and typing with this keypad is pretty good. It's not too bad, you know. I think it works pretty well. The only time I have an issue is when I want to hit space for whatever reason. Sometimes you know, I'm typing and I'm like, whoa, what's happening here? Because I inadvertently touch this button right here while going for space, and that's what changes the modes. And when I do that, you can go to, you know, handwriting, which kind of goofy right now. I'm writing in a hurry. You could use your stylus if you wanted. And this stylus, excuse me, this stylus can do a lot of things, but it's not like a Samsung stylus, and it's a little disappointing. We'll cover those things later. As you can see, it says tiles over here. I obviously didn't get it very well. I'm going to set this down. We'll get back to it. We'll talk about the stylus later, because if you set the stylus down there, it should have a reminder that tells you somewhere in the top corner that, hey, you know, you've removed your stylus, just so you know, right? So set this down. Oh, shoot. Actually, that's a very good opportunity. I wanted to say this. So the stylus being all round, all cylindrical is nice because you never make any mistakes. You never damage the stylus holder, but then being round means that it could roll away sometimes. And I've seen other styli made in a more oblong shape, in that they're like a carpenter's pencil. When you put them down, you'll find them exactly where you placed them. Okay, now it's not going to move, right? So I'll set this down again just for the sake of reminder. We'll come back to it later. But when it comes to messaging, this thing is okay. It works well. I think I've only had one messaging error, but I think that might have been a network issue. I sent a message and it only went like 4 hours later, which is interesting. It's not happened as much with this. My other phones seem to do that a lot. This one hasn't really done too much of that, but it's pretty easy to use. You can use those other styles, like, you know, the whole drag your finger across, and hopefully it gets your letters correctly, like in this case. It's okay. I like using the Verizon app because it does a lot of great things. For example, I can do scheduled messages. The inbuilt app with this phone does not do that stuff last time I checked. So, and it's pretty easy. Again, this records all my messages, so hold on to those. And why do I care about things like scheduled messages? Well, as you can see, I'm up at odd hours in the morning, so sometimes when I have a brainwave and I want to send a message, I don't want to send someone a message at 4 a.m., so I just schedule it for like 7 or 8 and send it later. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it for the touch screen, but I do have something else I want to share. Okay, so watch this video. So I've got a video right here, and I'm going to show you 1 or 2 things that happened with the okay. So see, I can scroll that back and forth a little bit to a certain level, but if I try to go, okay, now I can move in like the resolution of like 0.2 seconds. Normally I don't. And here's the other issue I'm trying to do. Yeah, I'm trying to show you I can never usually go all the way to 0. It's a very, very difficult to do with my hand. So unless I use something like the stylus, and the stylus can take me all the way to 0. like that. Do you see that? So that's an interesting problem. I've never really had that. Yeah, I do know that I have a little bit of a lip here, but I've tried it with and without the case, and it doesn't seem to make a difference. I don't know if it's just a phone, my phone issue, but it's something I've definitely seen. I've not experienced it in the past until I got a phone with a stylus. And I've always had phones with interesting cases. So I'm not saying it's a conspiracy that they give you a crappy resolution screen that you cannot use your finger so that you can use your stylus, but it's just something worth noting. So having covered the basic functionality of a phone, I'm going to jump over and discuss the features and apps. And I think we'll start with maybe connectivity. Let me get a little closer to the phone, see if we can show this. Oh, there you go. There's the thing I was talking about, the stylus removed. It's a nice reminder, right? Then it disappears. So with that, let me just go ahead and put the stylus back in so we don't have to fuss about it anymore. So the phone connects wirelessly in many different ways. You've got Wi-Fi connections, you've got phone data, as we talked about. One thing that we didn't note with the other one was NFC, and it's a way of wireless data transfer. Please forgive me if I'm oversimplifying what it is. I know some comments under the video said that the reason I picked the other phone over this one is that because this one does not have NFC. Yes, it does not. Thing is, I don't know. I've never needed NFC, and I've never known that I needed it, which does not really mean much because I never really knew that I needed a fingerprint scanner either until I got it, and I started thinking, how have I been living my life without this, right? Just something I thought I'd talk about. NFC was one of those things that people went for, and I'd say if you want NFC, don't compromise anything else. This would not be a good phone and you will be quite dissatisfied with it. Just wanted to mention that. I think Bluetooth works decently well with this phone. It works well for connecting to headphones, connecting to cars. The only time I have a problem with Bluetooth is data transfer between this and my phone, and my computer. Sorry, and talking about connecting with a computer, it has a few different modes. I can do it wired. I'm trying to connect the wire here, and when I do it wired, the only thing. Did you hear the beep? It usually has a reminder, like right here. It says charging this device via USB. Click for more options or tap for more options. So I have to select file transfer. Do you hear the beep? Otherwise, it was not connected at all, which is pretty cool for security. And I think before I set my fingerprint, I think normally it would want me to enter my password. I can't remember exactly how that went, but I feel like I just remember thinking this can be a nuisance, but on the other hand, it's really good for, for security. So that's it for connectivity. The next thing is going to be media. Let's talk about how to access your media and, how to do things like that. So this one is set up in an interesting manner. I look at it like a Windows computer in that you have a files, documents folder, and then you have categories. You've got downloads, you've got images, you got videos, you got audio, documents, and other, you got apps, right? You can also arrange them as to the source. Is it in your internal storage of the phone, or is it on your SD card? I usually have my stuff in the SD card, and I arrange them in a certain way. This one is interesting because what it has is that the topmost thing is what you looked at most recently. So pictures are towards the top for me. Let me open my pictures. I'm putting my hand here because I'm trying to hide stuff. Wheels is one I look at quite often. And we have, I think, 370Z wheels. I look at that pretty often. So your files are here. You can look at your pictures. You can scroll back and forth, but there's nothing else you can do. You can't really edit them. You can look at the info as to when they were taken and what kind of camera. But when you go to the options dots over there, the option menu, all you see is, do you want to use it as a wallpaper? Do you want to, move somewhere else? Do you want to delete it? That's the kind of stuff you see. You can do that for videos as well. Open your videos, and when you open videos here, you can change mode, play them big or small. You can, let me change mode again so I can get a little closer. You can skip back 10 seconds. forward 10 seconds. But again, there's not much else you can do. You can look at the info, you can, open it with this and that, you could delete it, move it to somewhere else. It's very much a file. Think of this as opening like your photo viewer in your, I don't know about Apple products, but with your Windows phone, Windows computer, that's what you do. So they don't really have a native media viewer, so to say. And let's look at audio. You can also look at your audio files depending on where you have to know where you have them. But here I've got one. You can kind of play music, and I've mentioned this in the past that whenever you play music, your music player allows you to play on whatever playlist or file folder that is, and it will do that for maybe 15 minutes. I can't remember timing it exactly, but then it just stops. And when you come to wake your phone up, it goes right back to the beginning. So it's not a good media player at all. It doesn't do a very good job at that. But for whatever shortcomings it's got, I think this does way better than any of the other smartphones I've had with regards to finding my documents and things like that. And the fact that I can search well, I feel like it just does really well. Here's one term that I use very often, Honor. When looking at Honor's manuals, I have those saved. I'll look at that. And a goofy thing about this is that, so it's going to go ahead and open that. Every single time it asks you, do you want to use Adobe Acrobat Reader? And I go ahead and say yes. It's like they're always trying to push Google at you. I can say open with this, but it's still going to go back to, it doesn't default open with. That's an interesting thing I've noticed about this. They try to push Google on you. Now, which answers the other question. So how do you play your media if you don't have a native media player? Well, if you're trying to do pictures, you go to Google Photos right here. And Google Photos has, when you open this, oh, it's a little sensitive. It heard me saying something. And when you go to the photos, you can look at pictures. You can, like this one right here, you can open your pictures. You can just look at them. But in addition to that, your videos kind of also queue up the same way, which is pretty cool. And here you can edit your photos and your videos if you want to, like this. Go to the edit menu right here. And you could do a lot of things. You could crop, you could put filters on, on your photos. All the different things you can do. You can mark them up. You can use a pen. You could do it in text. Well, go back, clear that. We don't want to do any of that. Cancel, discard. And again, this is Google based. So if you're trying to change, let me see, I think it was under adjustments right here. If you're trying to change just some things, you have to register for something else to unlock it. It's an interesting way. And what was the other one? Was it under suggestions? Yeah, dynamic, and that it was, yeah, quite an interesting thing. So you can still do that for your videos. You can open them up and you can edit them, which means it takes a while to load. As I said, it's a pretty slow phone, but the options will load up eventually. But it allows you to crop your videos. It allows you to add filters to the videos, add text if you wanted to. But unfortunately, unlike other video editors on phone, you cannot stitch two videos together. This one does not seem to have a video editor, and if it does, I've not been able to find it. It's being as slow as it is, I just find myself in a position where I'd rather just put things on the computer and just edit them from there. So that's it for music, for photos and videos. For music, they peddle this YouTube Music for you. There's a difference. There's YouTube, classic YouTube, but then there's YouTube Music, which is great because you don't have to use your own memory to save music. As long as you have data and internet, you're good, right? But it is YouTube after all. So that means they're always trying to hit you up with something. Let's play this one here, see what happens. So first, there are ads, right? So ads everywhere. And if you try to exit out of this to keep listening to music like that, or whether you did it intentionally or inadvertently because you're trying to go for volume and hit that, it closes music. Nothing happens, right? And when you try to open it back up, look, they try to sell you that. They're almost always trying to push that on you. So that's the one thing I don't really like about the going to YouTube for everything, going to, always just feel like pushing stuff on you. But it's not like the end of the world. If you wanted to play your own music, there's a way to get to it. Go to library, and you can do that for your albums or songs, whichever one, songs. And then right here it says device files, YouTube music. Just give it some time. There you go. So here are the tracks that I own that are in my, in my devices, in my SD card. Here, I don't really have anything that I've bought through YouTube. So it's not the most intuitive thing to use, but it does work. If you're playing your own music, you can kind of exit out of it and it will keep playing. It's just the YouTube stuff that it kind of pushes for people to do that. I don't quite like it. I don't quite like that stuff. But otherwise, as I said, I think it's a pretty good thing with the way things are laid out, images, documents, and things like that. I think it does pretty well. It's just that you have to turn Google and YouTube away so much. It feels like they're just bugging you. You always have to turn them down. I did want to say here, the other thing that when it comes to like serious stuff, because I've got downloads, images and stuff, one of the reasons that I picked the stylus over the 5G Ace was that because of the Notes app. And I can come here, open the Notes app. I'd like to say that that was misguided. I really didn't know how bad the Notes app in this thing is. It's good for scribbling and I guess keeping your kids busy, but I find that it doesn't really work for me because one, it's got a character limit. It goes to like 120 or 140 words or characters, and then it stops, which means if I'm writing a script or something like that, I cannot do it on this one. I have to go to the old school way of doing it, by message or email, and then emailing it to myself or sending it to myself. 2021, we should not be doing that. Yes, I admit that there are other ways you can do it. You can go ahead and download any great notes apps, but I like the native stuff because you don't get too many ads bombarded at you. So it's just a gripe. I think being that was one of the main reasons I took this phone over the 5G Ace, that is looking back, that wasn't such a good move. That is one thing I don't like. And another thing is that I cannot attach anything to that Notes app. So I can't attach like pictures or things like that. So it's not a very good app. I hear that the Samsung ones are really good, so I might consider going there for my next move. But again, the Samsung did have some things that I did not really care for so much. I will still talk about it. I'm just trying to be honest. I'm not trying to be negative. I'm trying to talk about the things that I regret about it and the things that I really, really like about making this move, right? So we'll talk about that. So at this point, someone might ask, well, you talked about media. How exactly do you get the media in here? Well, we can download stuff. As you can see, there was a downloads folder, and I'll try to be brief about this. But this is actually a little bit of a crossover between features and apps and also basic functionality. I think in 2021, the things we demand from a phone are way, way different. It needs to be able to take good pictures and good video and send them quick. Obviously, if you're a professional photographer, you probably do not agree to those things, but I just wanted to say this. The phone, the camera, photos, both pictures and video, they're okay. They're not great. See all these cameras, four lenses and all that? Nah. This G6 with its two cameras over here did way better. One thing is that this thing does not zoom well. It does not like zooming in. Whenever it zooms in, things become so washed out. So quality is a little iffy. If anything is more than 20 feet away from you, I'm guesstimating the length, but it just doesn't zoom very well. Second thing is nighttime quality is a little funky. Videos are a little better at night because you can control the flash is there constantly like this. I can just push the flash on all the time, right? See the flash. But when you go to pictures, to photos, I can just maybe say that the flash is going to be on, but until you press the shutter, you don't really know what it's going to look like at the end. So it's just something that I figured I would mention still. As I said, this one here, you either have light on or off, which usually helps whenever I'm doing nighttime videos. I've got different things. I've got stabilization and things like that, which is great. Initially, I hadn't, I guess, gotten to that. I feel like when I did my first review, I said that it wasn't doing very well with stabilization, but I was able to get it to do that. Video quality, it's okay, but I found that during the daytime, it looks unnatural. It sort of filters. I think what people usually, I think professionals refer to that as oversaturation, whereby your videos are so red, so green, so just so vivid. And I have a video, I could post it in the link, where in one section I recorded a car at the same time of day using this phone right here as well as this camera. This is a Nikon D3300, and you could see how different the two images look like. So I think I will, if I remember, I'll add that in the description just so you can see what the video quality looks like. I don't use it for pictures that much. They're disappointing. They're not that good. But I'll tell you this, I do like this feature. Good for the kids to play with whenever it comes to selfies. So you can do that, switch to selfie mode, right? Like that. Whenever you do switch to selfie, yeah, you can make it flash. And when you want to make it flash, like now, I force the flash on, just touch this. And it lights up a real flash. It doesn't just like white screen you. That's a pretty cool thing. I think that's, really nice as to what it can do. And it does that for both video and photos. So I think that's pretty cool. Got a light there. And I think I paid attention to this one because of someone's comment. Someone had made a comment in the video and they said, oh, I'll play with it, because I'd once done it and it just flashed and went back out, but I was able to get it to just stay on. So kudos to that person. I can't remember the name right now, but thanks to you, I was able to play with that feature. What else? I think my favorite feature, I have talked about this in the past and I still use it quite often, is this one right here, which is basically, it's a dual screen. You do something for, basically I'm recording up here as well as down here. And you can change the modes. You can change the way it looks. There you go. See, now it's inset. It's an interesting one. I thought it's cool to, I guess, play with that feature with the kids and stuff. I thought I'd be using it a lot, but again, in retrospect, it's not something that I would, knowing what I know now, it's not something that I would anchor my entire decision to get the stylus over the 5G Ace. I think it's a cool feature, but again, it's a novelty that we haven't used too much. I mean, it's been great moments that we've caught with that feature, but I don't know. I just feel like maybe I don't post on social media enough to use that feature to its full potential. So that's it. I wanted to talk about the camera, and no, do not leave, no matter how old your professional camera is, do not count on this phone as being a substitute for it at all. It's not great. So I think that covers the basic features of the phone. I think the video has been quite long right now, but I apologize. As I said, I'm going to give the I'm going to give the information as it needs to be done. So I might speak a lot, but I don't want to leave anything untouched. So with the basics covered, let's go over some miscellaneous stuff I think will be kind of important. One, this is just something I noticed, and it might be a settings, something to do with settings, but this phone, Motorola is always alert. Like, it doesn't do the whole motion things like Samsung does, but touching it, just like anything, obviously right now it wouldn't do it, but like moving it in any way, that didn't move it. It's a heavy phone, remember that. Let me put it on on that. I'm putting it on a piece of cloth, and it's going to be easier to move a piece of cloth than this sheet of paper. So I'm going to move it right now, like now. Whoa, what's going on? It's not on it properly. Well, that was kind of failed, but what I wanted to say is that, oh yeah, no, I'll do it. I'll move the table. Watch. It stays awake a lot. And which is cool though, you know, because it just wakes up and for a brief moment just shows you the time and the date. You know, just tap it, it shows you the time, date, look at it, and, you know, go on your way. I think that's kind of cool. It might bother you because if you get distracted every time it's on the, you know, on your desk and you move it, it does seem to wake up a lot. It's very responsive to tactile. Okay, of course it's trying to make me look like a fool now, but it does respond to a lot of things in, you know, with other phones that would generally not do that. So it feels like, I guess its sensors are really sensitive. Yes, sensors sensitive. Yeah, sensors are really sensitive is what I'd say. For that reason, or maybe along with that, it seems this phone vibrates a lot. I think it's maybe part of it is setting, but part of it could be just the way it was designed, in that when I'm making a call, if the call connects, it vibrates. If the call does not connect, if, you know, it's a missed call, it vibrates. I got a message from WhatsApp, vibrates. I got, you know, I think it vibrates when I send something else. I can't remember what it is. So I know the WhatsApp thing, I can kind of change that, and I've silenced like different groups, for example. But the whole calling, that's an interesting one. I didn't want it initially, but then I realized sometimes when I'm using this phone, and you know, when you call people, it can be pretty loud, right? So when you're calling people and you hear that ring back, sometimes this phone does not do that. But so that vibration at the end, it's an indicator to, hey, you better be getting ready to speak, because either they answer the phone, or two, you're going to voicemail. So it's an interesting thing. I wouldn't even call it a love-hate. It's one of those features you didn't really know you needed until you got it, you know? So I think it's kind of polite in that way, in that whenever I'm in vibrate, I'm always in vibrate mode. I've not really tested it any other way. But instead of you hearing that brrr, when it's ringing on the other end, it's quiet, and then it just vibrates to let you know something happened, you know? So that's an interesting thing. The other one, which I guess could or could not fail when I try to demonstrate it right now, is that not only is Motorola or Moto whatever very active, Google is very active. You kind of saw it pick up a few times. This video right now is being recorded in December 20th, right, 2021. And I'd like to say for the past 1 month, it's been really sensitive. Let me look at this whisper. Okay. Hey, Google. Wow, that's how sensitive this sucker is. So it's interesting. I've right now, yes, I know Google listens and whatnot, so it was kind of expected at that point. But sometimes I just leave it at my desk, and you saw it just come alive earlier on something that had nothing to do with Google. No, maybe I mentioned Google because I was talking about how they have you everywhere and trying to sell stuff to you, but I've been having conversations that have got nothing to do with technology in the first place. In fact, they've been in different languages, and you just see it light up. So it's been doing a lot of that this past 1 month. So for someone else who's owned this phone for that month forward, going forward, let us know if it's doing that stuff to you as well. But it seems very, very Google centric as a phone. So it's something else I wanted to mention over there. And so here's a bonus. Despite all that, always being awake and all that stuff, I never run out of battery. That's the one thing I'll tell you. They promised that it's going to be a 2-day battery, and they delivered. This battery is, even right now, what do I have? I have got, 20% battery, and I'm not even freaking out, because I've been in situations where I've had even less than that, where something happened and I just forgot to, because my phone doesn't like warn me at 6 p.m. like this thing would warn me by midday, like, hey dude, you need to do something about your battery. So because it doesn't warn me, I kind of forget it. But a few times it's happened that I've forgotten to charge the phone, and I just wake up the next day with like 43% and just go through the day and come back home with a phone not dead, which is it's pretty relieving to be doing that. So kudos to them. They promised a 2-day battery, and as long as you're not doing crazy things like, I guess, playing games throughout. I think that's how professionals usually test them, like they play games or something. For normal usage, whenever I'm at work, I don't really use my phone much, messages here and there, if anything, emails, maybe a phone call or two. It's not bad. It lasts, no doubt about that. Well, that's it for the heavy stuff. I know the video has been going on for quite a while, but I hope you guys are still enjoying yourselves, because I am enjoying myself. At this point, I've covered the basics of the phone. I've covered the basic functionality. I've covered the features and apps. I've also added a few quirks. For example, carrying this thing in your phone, and if you drive a Nissan or Infiniti, this button, you'll be turning it off all the time. So don't put the key fobs with the phone in the same place. Yet, I have something else. I usually like to call this the bonus section. The bonus section covers things that don't really fall neatly in either one of those categories. And one of those is going to be a question that I got from the comments on the other video, which was, one, how well is this phone with outside usability? So obviously this is morning and I can't really do much about sunlight, but I can tell you that I feel like using it is like using any glass object with dark backing like that. I'm trying to show the light. Yes, I can see some things, but I can look through. I can still see my stuff, for the most part, just even with twisting a little bit. And once they made that comment, I went outside and checked, because I realized that I guess I don't really use it much outside, not in that way. If I'm outside using the phone, it's a phone call. I don't like look down texting or browsing or watching videos or playing games. So I didn't really have a very good answer, but I felt like it's okay. The only problems I run into when trying to use a phone outside is that if I'm trying to record a video or take a picture, it's basically what that image comes to. It's not like the screen cannot be used. It's just that the image that comes to me isn't very good. But for browsing and things like that, I don't think I've run into any problems per se. Nothing so bad. I think by now, most manufacturers have figured out how to do the glass right, and I think they get the glass from either one or two places, right? So I think they figured that out. The other question was, I got this other one, so this is the other bonus. How good is it with regards to sound quality? And so I had to go and do this test, which was basically playing music. Let me go to audio. I played music in the bathroom with the shower running and the extraction fan running, and pretty good. Like, I could still hear the music, So I guess that does answer the question. The music carries pretty well. It's got all these different equalizer settings, which it's pretty cool that you can do that. And the fact that you can usually change the volume on not only the music, like right now I'll change from the music, right? You can go here. This is where your equalizer stuff is. Media volume, call volume. You can kind of right off the volume button. I think that's pretty convenient. You can do, more. And then I've got audio effects, which is the equalizer stuff. It's off or on. And, whoa, interesting. I thought I had it as a list previously. Media player, show the player. Yeah, so a few charging sounds and vibration, touch sounds. It's got a lot of different settings. And as I said, if you happen to be on something like, let's say you were on Facebook, I'm trying to get on here. Actually, no, let's go ahead and do YouTube. If you happen to be on YouTube, and let's do this, and I can change. There's a way, was it on calls? I'm trying to see, there was a way you could kind of change but you know, whenever you go to this equalizer, you could see, like, you could change two different settings. I can't remember exactly how to get to that. So talking about consistency, that's another interesting thing. I did find that it acts rather interesting, I guess. So watch this. So I've shown you guys this video when I was trying to play with the stylus and not, right? And sometimes what happens is right here. Well, this is a public group, by the way. So if you see something here and you're worried about your privacy, I guarantee you anybody else with internet can see it. So let's go here. Let me try to find my way into this page. I can play this video, right? And you guys will be able to hear it. Right? You can hear that. Great. Now let me go to the comment. Try to play this video. Okay, right now it's working, but sometimes what happens is that I cannot control this in the comments, in Facebook comments. So like here, I cannot scroll at all. Video's basically got a mind on its own. So that's one thing I noticed about. I'm trying to go to this page again. Oh, here it is. So let me try it from here, from the page. Okay, right now it's playing, and as I said, it's not very consistent as to what happens. All it is that I could not control videos in the comments section, and sometimes it just like blips for like just momentarily. I just hear sound, and sometimes I cannot hear anything else. Sometimes reducing the volume and then increasing it again makes me able to play sound, but as I said, I don't know what exactly causes it, so it is what it is. I can never control that. The second thing about inconsistencies, though, and I like this part. I really, really love this part. So let me go to my videos. Let me go to my YouTube in this case. I'm playing my video. Suppose I set myself up with a video with an ad too. All right, so see that, right? I'm playing a video, right? And sometimes the mini player is a little hard to get. I've noticed that with this phone, without fail, every time I'm playing something that's not YouTube Shorts, I can go and minimize it, and I always get the mini player every single time, you know. So that's a pretty cool thing, I guess, about this whole deal. I could, as long as, you know, it depends on how I switch. If I switch like this, oh, still there. I guess that's inconsistent, but generally I never lose the mini player. So whatever qualms I've got with YouTube Music, the music player, I can almost get around it by playing YouTube and using it as a mini player right now. Like, okay, see, now that's the part I'm talking about. Why did it not go small? See, it's inconsistent. Okay, I think I got it. I never really thought about it. If you pause it, then they look at you and say, well, that means you don't need to play it, right? But if you're playing it, they say, oh, well, then in that case you were watching something. You can keep watching. So pretty cool, right? Yeah, so I think that brings us to the end of the video. I think I've recorded as much information and shared as much information as I'd like to be. Is this the most thorough Motorola Stylus G whatever review out there? Probably not. But you know, one thing I said in the other video is that I think new phone reviewers serve a really good purpose. They give you that information quick, because at least going in, I knew that the other one was better. That's why I bought the 5G Ace initially. But there's something that living with a phone for 5 months does to you, and there are a lot of things it teaches you that, you know, you cannot learn by just watching a video or by holding a phone when it's brand new for 2 days. I have learned a lot. In summary, knowing what I know now, no, I would not have bought the Stylus 5G. it's not the phone for me, not for what I wanted. It was $400 when I bought it. It was, nice and sensible enough. And seeing, knowing what a flagship phone can do for me and the way I use phones, as I said, if you don't take pictures and videos and you don't upload stuff on YouTube, no, either phone would work for you. But for my uses, I don't think this is the phone for me. I do realize and I do hope that someone will look at this review that I gave and say, yeah, I definitely want that phone. Because my stuff, it's not meant to sway you one side or another. My video, this review was meant to just inform you. And I hope I've done justice to the review.